Hi there, this is MJ from Mirrored Wellness, the podcast about mirroring others' skillful habits so we can become our best empowered selves. We'll talk about tips, hacks, and some personal journeys along the way. So join me for today's topic. Let's dive in. Hello everyone, this is MJ from Mirrored Wellness. Last week, thank you for being a part of my podcast, and this week we are going to talk a little bit more about procrastination. Last week we talked about 3 tips for procrastination. We also talked about the 3 procrastination characters and the 2 types of procrastination. Those 2 types, just for recap, is due date procrastination and non-due date procrastination. Now, due date procrastination is when you have a date. Non-due date procrastination is when you don't have a date for an activity that you would like to get done. That's the dangerous one. That's the dangerous one because there's no looming deadline. You're waiting on yourself, right? Which, I don't know about you, but I'm not terribly great at telling myself to do things, especially when it's not really something that not necessarily don't want to do, but there's fear surrounding it. And that is one of the biggest reasons why we procrastinate, right? We have fears of judgment, fears of success, also fears of failure. That's a huge one. So this time we're going to talk a little bit more about what I would like to refer to procrastination's ugly stepdaddy, which is fear. So the tips that I'm going to give you are surrounding those more or less. The first one we're going to go over is the Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. And she talks about using the 5-second rule. And no, it is not you drop food on the floor and you have 5 seconds to pick it up. Although, I don't know. That depends on how gross your floors are. But I'm going to leave that one up to you. So, basically what we're talking about is, let's just say, for me, it's this podcast. I give myself rules. That was one of the tips from last week. The rule that I basically have is that if something's going to take me less than 5 minutes, I'm just going to do it, right? Because like filling out a bill or walking into the grocery store and getting something that I need, right? I know those are not necessarily fear-based, but at the same time, if you have a fear of other people, that could be something that's a little bit much for you. But the 5-second rule, just keeping with 5s, I suppose, is when you know you have to do something, Mel Robbins says to basically just do it. It takes your brain about 5 whole seconds for you to start from the time you know you need to do something till the time you start talking yourself out of it. It takes about 5 seconds. Some people, it's less. For me, I use 3. So if I know I'm going to have to do something and it's scary for me, I say 3, 2, 1, go, and do it. I know it's easier said than done for sure, but you want to start small. In the book, she talks about launching herself out of bed every morning because she was going through a hard time and it was really hard to get out of bed. I know some of you listening have that. I do as well. As you go through a rough patch and it's hard to get in and out of bed, especially in the morning. So 3, 2, 1, sit up. Once you're up, you're up. There's no getting back into bed. Get up, make your bed, at least pull the sheets back over and stand up. And even if you're just standing there for what feels like 10 minutes, hell, stand there for 10 minutes. Whatever. Do what you need to do, basically. But it's the action that you need to take a part of. So that is my first tip. The second tip is my friend Jamie, she always says to me that done is better than perfect. Man, do I need that quote. She has a podcast called Solutions for Solopreneurs, so go check that out. This is something that I have struggled with for a while, the perfectionism that I don't want to put anything out unless it's perfect. But if you do that, you're never going to get it out. So pick something that, again, start small. Say you've always wanted to write poetry. So take a bit of poetry, put it out there like on social media, not even to your friends. Say, go into Facebook and find a community of authors and maybe post something there just to get it out. That first one is usually the one that's the scariest to do. Use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule to get that out there, and just do it. Set yourself a date. So even with these non-dated procrastination type procrastinations, if you will, if you set yourself a date, that will help tremendously. I know for me, this podcast was it was a literally 2-year procrastination podcast. It's 2 years. That's how long I've been trying to get it out there. And obviously, I don't know if you know how many times I've said in the last 5 minutes. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's out there, right? It's a fear of judgment for me is a huge one. It's me getting it out there. My tip number 3 is one that we went over the last time, but I want to reiterate this because I think it's so important. Get help, get support, get that accountability buddy. That is really important to choose your support system. You can't always choose your family, but you can choose your friends. You can choose the people that you hang out with because you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. That doesn't only include physical. That includes people that you listen to. If you listen to podcasts, like the people, the places, the energy that you take in on a normal basis. That's what we're talking about, those 5 people. So let's just throw it out there that you're a huge Mel Robbins fan and you basically feed your brain with Mel Robbins all the time. She's got tons of social media out there. I think she posts every day. If you're constantly putting her in your ear, you can call her one of those 5 people. So definitely use your accountability buddy to, your support system to your advantage. Find people that will want to support you. It's super important to do that. It doesn't have to be a mother, a father, a friend. It could be someone, maybe you get a coach, a life coach. Maybe it's somebody that you pay to be your accountability buddy. That's something that's available as well. But it's really important to have that support system. And those are my tips for today. I really appreciate you coming by. I appreciate like and subscribe. Definitely keep up your good work. Keep going. Use that 5-second rule. I will list Mel Robbins in the podcast notes as well as Jamie. If you have any questions, definitely find me on social media, Mirrored Wellness on Facebook and Instagram. Other than that, be well. Be the best that you can be, and we will talk next time. Next time, this is a fun one, we're going to go over using the dark side. Fun stuff. So tune in next week.